evening, everyone. We are going to talk about China's great leap forward in AI. And I'm joined by one of our veterans from the Indian Army, Major General Sudhakar Jee, Vishishta Seva Medal recipient. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much for inviting me for this very, very important topic and to, I would say, a foundation, a platform which is most sought after in a very short time. I compliment the leading personalities, the CEO and the director, for having chosen the subject. And I recommend this subject should be adopted by all the mainstream platforms, media, and everyone as much as possible to make it popular amongst the citizens of the country. Thank you.
Sir, you have rightly pointed out it's a very important topic, and we need to talk more about it, especially the media space. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much discussion, but thanks to Usanas Foundation that we are talking about it. And it's not just about China leapfrogging, it's also about where does India stand, and especially when it comes to our defense capabilities, given that there won't be conventional war. It looks like a remote possibility. You never say never, but it looks like a remote possibility. So warfare that we often talk about is cyber warfare, or we talk about information warfare. And with China launching Deep Seek, which has taken the world by surprise, because I have spoken to a lot of experts and they were taken aback when China came out with this announcement. So first of all, so far as AI capabilities of China is concerned, they are pumping in billions of dollars in their R&D. I will come to India later on, but given your defense background, how do you see this? What would be your initial comment about these recent developments?
Aditi, excellent question. Before I go ahead with the appropriate answer, let me just give a little primer to the canvas. The primer is that we should realize that we are in the 21st century. And prior to 21st century, we have, most of us, if not all, know something about the first industrial revolution way back in 18th century, uh, British led, I would say, and the second industrial revolution, which was led by or driven by the American initiative. China as a country, as a concept of Middle Kingdom, has gone through lots of sufferings, and that stage of suffering is called a century of humiliation. The century of humiliation was actually lifted up to such a platform that at one point in time, China is to have national holiday, and that holiday is to be called a century of humiliation, so as to apply the theory of a loss or theory of grief, having been humiliated time and again, and use it to develop and nurture nationalistic feeling. That is the spirit of, you know, the century of humiliation with which the Chinese founding fathers had selected that day. It is to be celebrated earlier for 7 days. I don't know whether it is being done now or not. Now, with that sense of century of humiliation in 21st century, you would agree that China missed out the bus. It was nowhere there in the 18th century, in the Industrial Revolution. It was nowhere to be seen in the 19th century. So here is a time in 21st century, China has gone a long way. It wants to find its rightful entitlement and place in the global order and assert its preeminence in at least one of the primary domains. And that primary domain happens to be technology. So when we
Hmm.
talk about the technology, it is not necessarily all about the military defense. It relates to economy, it relates to academia, it relates to judicial system, it relates to defense, it relates to social behavior, how to monitor, regulate. Use it as a tool to help and assist China. So the sum total of my response to your question is China has come a long way. It was very late to start with,
Hmm.
but 2017 was the turning point where the national government, the CCP, took actually a decision to select a target. They are long-term prospective planners, it's a known fact. And they planned by 2030, they would like to be a global power or leader in technology in the world, and especially in AI, artificial intelligence. Now, why AI, artificial intelligence? They have gone through lots of important milestones. It was not a very cakewalk for the China. When they started, another timeline that comes to my mind is
Sure.
2006. In 2006, they realized, okay, fine. They started way time back, 1960s and all, but it was a lean period until Deng Xiaoping came out with the idea that science and technology will be the spine on which the national economy and the defense would be riding. Science and technology. So that was a turning point. Science and technology was given importance. And
Hmm.
with science and technology, they kick-started the concept of artificial intelligence. But until 2006, they actually could not take it seriously. Why they couldn't take it seriously? There are many factors. Time will not allow me to dilate. But one of the important steps, you know what they did? They sent the students abroad in large number in hordes, Germany, USA, UK, France, India itself. I didn't know that India is so important. In my past 3, 4 days of research, I realized the large number of Chinese students, they used to come to Vellore University. They used to come
Hmm.
to Bangalore. I don't know for what purpose, but they came and went back. Can you believe it that in USA, after the graduation, these people never stayed back to collect the graduation certificate. They just scooted. They went back to China. China is to fund them enormously. China
Sure,
is
sir.
to get them back to the country. These people came back. Today, if I just give you the statistics, you'll be surprised. In the year 2000, the PhD students, STEM students of China in the year 2000 was just about 8,900 something. And USA in the year 2000 had around, I think, 10,000 or 11,000. I have got the statistics. Yeah, it's here. China had 9,038 PhD students with STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. USA had 18,289 in the 2000. China, having realized the importance of artificial intelligence, they came to a conclusion that until we promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in our academic curriculum, we'll be nowhere. You may have a
Hmm.
long term, very supreme kind of a objective, but you will not be found anywhere. So they took it up seriously. In the year 2007, this, they began a kind of a scheme known as National Young Talent. The name has
Hmm.
got a longish kind of a name, but I'm giving you the central colloquial expression. In that was kind of a booster. You see, in the year 2010, China had jumped from 9,038 in 2000 to 34,801. USA, which was 18,289, it could grow only up to 26,000. That 26,000. That means China had left USA behind. Now take a
So,
look at.
sir, I completely understand that you're talking about the systematic approach to science and technology. What I want to talk about is the current scenario. Where does China stand? And here, because it's a very vast topic, and I would want people to understand when we talk about defense capabilities, because I really want to zero in on that, and you specialize in it. So, when we talk about Chinese AI vis-a-vis defense capabilities, what are the technological innovations that you have heard of, you have seen, or you would be wary of?
Okay,
What
good.
have been the
Very good.
trends?
So I'll go back from in a reverse manner, because last I served was in Siachen Glacier or the Eastern Ladakh, where I saw in my own eyes. This was in the year 2016-17. I was the GOC. I couldn't believe. I reported to my superiors. What I saw was there was a platform. I really don't know whether actually it is what I saw or it is something different. On the platform, there was a weapon system and there was no Jawan, there was no man manning it. So what was
You're
it?
talking about 2016, 17.
1617, when I reported the matter, it is much prior to the date and timeline which I have researched in past 2 days. What does it mean? Was it that they are before time, well ahead of time, what they come out in the public in open domain, that they were carrying out AI, trying out on the battlefield? Second point that comes to my mind is, having a gun on a platform without a man driving it or manning it is very dangerous. These are all, you call it autonomous navigation systems with decision making capability. Now, let me also clarify, Aditi, if you allow me. Our viewers should do well to understand what is AI, what are the types of AI. So, let me just in two lines complete it. AI is of three types. One is the basic one that we talk of Siri, Alexa, you have self driven cars. These are below human level artificial intelligence, and you give a pre-programmed, predetermined path, tell it what to do. Okay, so next one is the general AI. General AI is something comparable to the human intelligence. Okay, and next is the super AI. Now, general AI and super AI, they are very far-fetched dreams. Most of the countries, they haven't come up to that level. Most of the countries in the world, as on today, they are carrying out active research on the narrow AI. Narrow AI is below the human threshold, because that question which I am raising, human decision making, the moment you give that autonomous power to that platform to take a decision. I asked a question in the Maharana Pratap geopolitical annual dialogue, that the AI doesn't know who's a Chinese soldier and the Indian soldier. What happens? Right before the gun, there is a Chinese soldier, and if it is triggered, press the trigger, it will kill its own soldier. So that dilemma doesn't have a solution. It doesn't have a solution. But what I'm trying to say, China is well ahead. In the year 2020, China overtook USA in artificial intelligence in all domains. China is the only country which has publicly announced in 2014 in a white paper document that it can fight any war against any country in 6 domains: land, sea. Domains are of different types. Physical, you have, then you have superficial, artificial. So those domains are basically land, sea, air, cyber, space, and the last one they dominated or claimed supremacy was the electromagnetic. But beyond that, we are coming into a domain which are very disruptive in nature. What are these? They're artificial intelligence, they're blockchains, we have energy storage, you have autonomous platforms. Now, once these platforms are given the ability to go above the human intelligence and decision making capability, that is going to be very critical for the mankind. That is where the mankind has to decide. Do we decide to give the decision making capability to artificial intelligence? It is an answer which the Paris conference couldn't actually decide. They have just triggered a thought process. So we need to, as a world, think about such kind of challenges coming our way. And I'm
So
sure.
just to build on this differentiation between friend and a foe, can't there be positive identification? Because every question that I'm asking you, I have India at the back of my mind. I'm thinking of our border areas. So if we come up with something like this, whether we would or not, that stays in future. But this positive identification through AI is it possible, or is it a distant dream?
Aditi, knowing you, I'm sure all your attributes are actually highlighting defense background, but a very pertinent question you're asking. I don't want, as a GOC, or when I was in the Srinagar Valley, nobody wanted to carry the body bags from the encounter operations or the operations which you're going every day. Nobody wants. Why not, ideally speaking, send the robotic or the mobile robots? Yes, there are
Absolutely.
different types of, different types of. You have surface UAVs, you have aerial UAVs, unmanned. I'm talking about unmanned. So you also
Mhm.
have the ground UAVs, unmanned ground vehicles. So when you talk about unmanned ground vehicles, do we have the capability? What happens in a jungle when you are face to face with the terrorists? You are having a contact battle. We have a mobile platform available. If India doesn't have, then the research is going on, because I'm afraid I don't have the latest up-to-date information about research and development. But having been on ground and having actually carried out research in past 2 3 days time, I was underestimating our country. My God, if I allow me to read out the achievement, oh, it is mind-boggling. We are the fourth. We are rated fourth in the world. After
Mhm.
USA, China. After China is England. After UK is India. There are other achievements which are mind-boggling. You really can't believe. So what I'm coming to, there is a thing known as mobile robo. Now, mobile robo is something like a unmanned ground vehicle, and in that it goes on an autonomous platform. It has got a predetermined path. It has got a predetermined navigation, autonomous navigation system.
Mm,
Problem becomes in a jungle. What happens? The threat. What is the threat? Threat is the terror. Terrorist doesn't sit at one place. It shifts its location from one place to another. The sensor, complete concept of AI is based on sensor and striker. As far as the military domain is concerned, the sensor
mm,
will seek the information. It will feed the information to the striker, and the striker will strike the target. But over here, if the sensor is getting blinded because of darkness, because of dense forest, because of foliage, it will be very difficult. And another point that you're asking is friend or foe. Identification, friend or foe, is a very dangerous, critical issue which may lead to a fratricidal or cross firing in the battlefield. It is very difficult to identify whether the troops before you are your own troops, or the Chinese are there, or the terrorist is there. It's very, very difficult in the melee of battle when the
mm,
bombs and explosives are going all around, when the firing is on. There is virtually the human cerebral faculty actually is unable to decide who is the friend and who is a foe. So we have
mm,
very practical measures to identify. We tie a band, a wristband on the right side, or have some kind of a symbol on a helmet to identify ये मेरे company का है, ये मेरे battalion का है, or we
mm,
have a torch, flash of torch. This is how we do, and or we have a password or a code word. This is how we identify. So he gives half portion of the code word or the password.
mm.
I give half portion. Then we interconnect. Yes, he's from my battalion, my company, and he's from my group. Can artificial intelligence undertake such kind of identification of friend or foe? At least as of now, Aditi, it is a no-go case. I know for sure during my research, I have come to realize that China is miles ahead. They are carrying out very intense and active. They, in fact, started applying a higher level of artificial intelligence in South China Sea, a subsonic vessel which goes and carries out a surveillance and the hydrographic survey. It is actually looking out for enemies submarines. How does that subsonic vehicle, how can it look for an enemy submarine underwater? That means
Mm,
they are very close to identifying friend or foe. They have some system, some method in
mm,
madness. Maybe domain experts will be able to throw some light. As a student of geopolitics, strategy, and security, I'm
mm.
afraid this much I could do in 2 days or 3 days of research. Maybe if I,
Okay, so
yeah,
fair enough, sir. So going back to your point about mobile robots, you mentioned them in the jungle. What if you have AI-enabled cameras mounted on these mobile robots and your drones tracking them and the feed that is coming through the robot and the camera to your operators? Don't you think it can lead us somewhere and can really actually help us to tackle this high casualty number that we are facing, the Indian Army is facing as of now?
I admire your concern for the soldiers, Aditi. You looks like you are from a defense, not only defense background, but you've been a fighter yourself. You're able to visualize. It is already happening in some form. Somebody is picking up the information. He's supplying the information to an aerial platform, unmanned platform. The aerial platform has got some kind of a loiter ammunition. Loiter ammunition, it will launch, it will deliver the ammunition. The ammunition has got geospatial data on the tip of the ammunition. It will home onto the target. It will confirm that the target is here, and thereafter it will attack the bunker or it will attack the hideout. It is happening in some form. We may not have actually advanced into too high profile or domain, but I know for sure something like this is taking place in our northern border, along the western border in J&K, or if not exactly what I have said, something close to it is happening. But what I admire is the awareness amongst the journalists that this also is a possibility, is a
Mm.
remarkable thing, because you people have to actually make a turnaround and sensitize the people. Our whole nation has to talk about such things. We need to discuss and debate and carry forward the needs of the soldier to a very frontline requirement, and so that the soldier is well protected and is able to neutralize the enemy.
Okay. So, sir, let me go back to China because that's where we started. So, just to give
Yeah,
people a perspective, why did these questions come to my mind? Because now, when we are talking about DeepSeek, not many people had heard of it. As you are pointing out, that China is doing a lot when it comes to battlefronts and multiple fronts, and they are working really hard when it comes to AI. What I need to know from you is, did DeepSeek surprise you as well? Were you shocked that China was working on it, and you mentioned 2016-17 in the context of Siachen surveillance. So, are you surprised? Are you shocked? What is it?
I'll be very candid to your question. I was not surprised because I am witness to many things which people on the ground they don't know. In the year 2010 to 12, I was the brigade commander of Tawang Brigade. One fine day in the evening, I was having a walk with my daughter in front of the Flagstaff house. Suddenly, something comes ahead of my head, and prior to that, His Holiness Dalai Lama had visited Tawang. Okay, so there is something that comes before me and my daughter and flashes the camera or light. Or light is flashed in the evening hours around 8:30. It goes back. It is like shooting and scooting. So my daughter got alarmed. She was just about, I think, 9 years old or 11 years old, around that. So, he, Papa, what is this happening? I said, Bete, I'll take you to a place in the evening hours tomorrow. You'll see the pyrotechnic. So I took her to Bumla. Bumla is a place where we meet with each other in Tawang sector. Evening 7:30, come the last light for at least 1 hour 45 minutes. The 17 aerial unmanned something, people used to call it as celestial objects. They, the flight path was such, it was crisscrossing each other for 1 hour 45 minutes. They used to come, stop at one place, flash the camera or do something. There used to be a light, very flashing beam, and then that platform is to disappear. When I reported the matter, this matter was responded to by very well-meaning research scholars and scientists in the country that these are celestial objects. So don't unnecessarily sweat. So it kept on happening for 3 months. And it used to happen whenever India was doing any kind of infrastructure development. When you do infrastructure development, you carry out blasting of the rock side or the hillsides. When the blasting takes place, China resorts to these kind of surveillance mechanisms. So it took me almost about 1 year plus, or throughout my tenure, I kept on insisting, sir, this is not celestial object. There is something dangerous which is happening. This was in the year 2011. When I carried out the research indicated that China at that point in time had 163 miniature platforms of UAVs. Finally, scientists came. They carried out a research. They were convinced that these were nothing, no celestial object. These are unmanned aerial vehicles. So from
Okay.
there on, we started taking very preventive and cautious measures against these kind of, because it is an air violation taking place at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm coming to is, when you say DeepSeek, were you surprised? I am not surprised because of the STEM, PhD STEM students. The figures which I've said, today China has got 77,000 PhD STEM students. India recorded figure is 700, which says out of 700, 70% have migrated and settled abroad. China, you know what it does? Every student who goes abroad, 47% has come up to now 53.2% of this population, student population. They have to come back to China. They have to study here. They have to pursue their PhD
Okay.
and also research, and they are being paid handsomely. Another important thing what China has done, they have gone about starting two global standards, global standard universities. They are paying almost 3 to 5 times more than the package, which in the Western countries these professors used to get. They have attracted the best of the teaching faculty. The human talent is one issue which they're focusing on. They have
Okay.
been able to create an ecosystem. There is a green energy ecosystem available. There is a data center. China is in a hierarchy. When you talk about the artificial intelligence, data is everything. Data is the new oil of artificial
Yes.
intelligence. China is the country which has got almost about largest percentage of data in the world today. They have got data. They have got a network. 6G, we have just started. AI mission started last year in India, 7th March 2024.
Exactly. This is what I was coming to, sir. This is what I was coming to. So, How would India compete with China as you have just listed out the technological innovations? I don't know which year you're talking about with regards to UAV, but with India not having LLM, that is a large language model,
Large language model, yeah.
and you know your dependency on a third party, there are security issues with regard to that as well. Then the ecosystem that you are talking about, when you don't have LLM, which is the very basic of it, then you have this core of signals. They are spearheading this AI development process. So have you seen any research from them? Because I tried to find it out on online, but I couldn't find anything. So you coming from the army, probably you have more access to that information. So any research that has seen the light of the day that you would like to mention over here? Or are they just a setup, just meant for just basic education? Who's driving India's AI development when it comes to India's defense capabilities, and especially military?
Okay, last question first, because in AI, artificial intelligence, there has to be either a congenital by birth integration. There has to be a fusion, civil and military fusion. The moment you operate separately, then you have to have separate ecosystem. They will work in silos. There will be no integration and joint effort. So, answering your first question, who is driving it? India's AI mission is there in IIT Kanpur. It started in the year 2023, if I'm not wrong, and this has got almost about 10,300 crores as a one-time allocation to kickstart. When you talk about leapfrogging, actually it is China not doing leapfrogging. It is India which is doing leapfrogging. In past 2 to 3 years' time, Aditi, it is very heartening. I thought India is sleeping, doing nothing. But when I carried out my research, just quickly, time, I know time is at premium. The Stanford AI Vibrancy Tool 2024 has given out the result world over of the countries which have got AI. India stands fourth. India stands 10th in private investment with $1.4 billion. First in AI skill penetration with a score of 2.8 ahead of USA and Germany. Germany is 1.9, USA is 2.2. AI concentration talent has grown 263% since 2016. 14th in research contribution. Second in generative AI innovation 2014 to 13. 1350 patents have been already received by Indians. Second in global AI specialist and third in research publications. Readiness for Frontier Technologies Index ranked India 36 in 2024, up from 48 in 2022. Among the top 10 countries globally in AI readiness out of 73 countries in the world. Likewise, India started in 1960, while the world started thinking about AI in technical terms is 1956, but in 1986 we made a very small beginning with knowledge based computer system, and we started showing results in 2000. The momentum picked up in the year 2018 with national strategy for AI in specific sectors. In 2021 we had the first draft for responsible and ethical AI. Recent developments, we are a leader in AI and robotics. I was surprised to read this, not at one, at 10 places, two different books. We are a leader in AI and robotics. AI mission, I have just shared 10,300 crores and indigenous language models have started. We are developing it. And fastest growing developer population and ranked second in public generative AI projects as per GitHub, and home to 16% of the world's AI talent, showcasing its growing influence in AI innovation and adoption. India AI mission was launched on 7th of March 2024 in agriculture, healthcare, weather forecasting, disaster management. This is how India has taken off in last 3 to 4 years. So isn't India leapfrogging more than that of China? We have been glorifying China. So in no time, whatever it may be, I am a military man, I don't have any party politics. This dispensation of the leadership has taken the right decision, maybe slightly late. Now you come to the 6G warfare. I have written and spoken about 6G warfare at number of places in global as also national platform. 6G warfare deals with AI, deals with machine learning, quantum computing, etc., etc. It operates 100 times faster than that of 5G, and you get a real-time decision-making ability. And where is it happening? The army is leading. It is spearheading at a place I am not supposed to disclose, but it is happening. army is happening, the leadership, it is not just a showbiz. It is happening for true meaning, because if we have to develop and leapfrog further in artificial intelligence, it will be
Mm-hmm.
interdependent two components. 6G, because of 6G, artificial intelligence will take a quantum jump. Because of artificial intelligence, it will help the network system. That network system will be based on a wireless communication system. Today, we all should feel proud and happy. There are people in our country who are thinking about 7G. 7G is not being thought about anyway. It will it will reduce the bandwidth of the light to one-seventh the current size, and it will be super fast than that of 6G, which is going to be an objective for 2050 or
Mm.
60. So in India, people have started galloping. They're thinking. ISRO is using artificial intelligence to great an extent. So is the medical science. So is the transportation sector. So a lot is happening in our country. We have started late, but in 3 years' time, I am marveling at our leadership and the guidance and the orientation of the nation in adopting artificial intelligence in this big manner.
Mm-hmm. But with the chat GPT in US and DeepSeek in China, where do we stand when it comes to large language model?
Large language model, Aditi, will bear me out. It takes time. It takes time, and we
And
need
doesn't
to
it, and doesn't this lead to security issues? If I'm
obviously.
using a third party, they can always interfere with my tech advancements, and they can easily play around it. No?
Absolutely. You see, no matter what we say, our dependency, sorry, don't mind, it is a digression from the question, it will appear. In military hardware, our dependency might have come down from 76% to 36% as far as Russia is concerned. But my response to everyone who's asked this question to me, it was an emergency procurement because of extended
Mm.
standoff. Now, out here, artificial intelligence has actually come up so abruptly, so suddenly after ChatGPT, particularly DeepSeek, that we have been woken up out of slumber. Now, so much so, security is an issue which you are actually pointing at. Unless your indigenous development takes place, R&D. I am afraid, let me also bring out, Aditi, we are doing very frank talk. R&D, overall research and development in India is 0.65% of GDP. If you take example of South Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, elsewhere, where European countries, America, and all these countries, it is the average, world average is 2.1 to 2.6%. Israel has got 6% of R&D. So where do you stand? Just a quick reply from one of the student in IIT. I had gone to give a talk, a PhD student. Sir, government of India has allocated 1 lakh crore. What is 1 lakh
Mhm.
crore when you compare? Percentage
Mm.
wise, it is nothing, and we are starting very late. So therefore we need to identify these objectives as a long term perspective plan. I decide for ourselves where exactly we are looking at. If by 2047 India wants to become a 30 trillion US dollar economy and a
Mm.
global power to reckon with, this is one of the objectives. Yes, there was a counter question from one of the students. He said, sir, we have got a huge population, we have got a youth bulge. You may have a youth bulge, but youth bulge will not stay permanently. After 2053, India also will start aging. Why China is going in for AI? China is going for AI because the average age of China is 39 years. Average age of Indians is 29 years. We have 65% of our population is between the age of 15 to
Mm.
65 as on today. This particular bulge is going to reduce substantially by the year 2050-53. You will have no people to work. Why is it happening in China? Because the total fertility rate, TFR you call it, if I remember, you have an international average of 2.1 to balance out, ensure stability in the population. If it goes below 2.1, then actually there will be an imbalance. China is facing a biggest challenge apart from many issues is inequality. There is a Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient of China is 0.456. It had reached a figure of 600 something, 0.667 way back in some time back. But now it is 0.467, which is supposed to be very, very high. It means people from remote areas are shifting to the townships for jobs. They are not getting jobs. AI requires people who are qualified, technically qualified, who are skilled. and the skilled people are not many amongst the poor laborers. So therefore it is going to widen the gap. If the widening of gap takes place, it will lead to social disharmony and social unrest which China is facing today. So indirectly or directly, I'm trying to
Okay.
answer the question which you have raised, is that China may be doing very well. The TFR may be slightly imbalanced. It may be going in to replace the mankind. The biggest challenge in China today, Aditi, is the legitimacy of the Communist Party of China, CPC. What do you mean by legitimacy? Legitimacy of China, that means every person in the defense force, it is not like armed forces of India. It is the armed forces of the political party, the Communist Party. Everyone is expected to be loyal to the leadership. Z is supposed to be saluted from the heart, not superficially. Now, the system of AI in China is basically to carry out surveillance of every individual. It has happened successfully in Xinjiang province. They
Hmm.
have, for the Uyghur Muslims, they have kept them under tight surveillance.
Hmm.
If there is any dissent, they want to prevent any kind of dissent taking place in the society.
Hmm.
Dissent will be a clear indication of the collapse of political party.
Hmm.
And this collapse of political party is going to destroy China and its current architecture. Therefore, the tussle which is going on between democracy and the authoritarian rule, the democratic parties in the world will win over the authoritarian. China, on the other hand, is trying to expand through its BRI in countries like Zambia, Kenya, or in many
Okay.
of the countries in Africa. Through the surveillance system, it is exporting these products at a cheaper rate. Their engineers are going and installing them, and they are trying to buy the data, also take the social behavior of the people. Gradually, incrementally, they are trying to make the people accept the rule of law of authoritarianism. This is how
Hmm.
China is expanding its communist style or authoritarian style of
So that
rule.
is that is more a political and a social thing, but putting in money, pumping in billions of dollars in R&D, you know, and when we talk about DeepSeek, we know that's a low cost and highly efficient model that China often talks about. And if I recall one of the interviews of ChatGPT founder, he has said that replicating it is impossible. And China has done it behind the closed doors. They have managed to surprise the world. And why am I saying so? Are we working also in the same direction? As in, you are talking about the students, you're talking about certain institutions, but are we thinking in terms of, enhancing our defense capabilities? As you were mentioning, I'm always going back to the same point. How are we using AI to enhance our defense capabilities? Because
Okay, I'll
surveillance,
answer your.
everything is, it's fine, but first of all you need to protect your borders, you need to guard your borders. And if you can save human life, if you can save your soldiers life with the use of AI, then why not? That should be our priority.
You ask questions like a military professional. I must compliment you. Very good question.
Thank
Every
you.
military man worth his salt, he will be called as a military leader provided he knows his job. What is his job? His job as a military leader is to anticipate the threat. It should not happen. World over in the history of military science, every time there is a conflict, either of the party was surprised. You talk about the Hamas attacking the Israeli forces, the most formidable army. Talk about the Americans who were knocked down, the Twin Tower 9/11. Talk about the Hezbollah, which are supposed to be dreaded terrorists, worse than LTT. They were also surprised by ICOM attack and the pager attack. Okay,
Absolutely.
so likewise, examples are plenty. Why go that far? Kargil also we are surprised. Weren't you surprised? Parliament में session चल रहा है, and these people come and attack. You talk yourself as the largest democracy and the vibrant, fourth largest armed forces in the world and sixth largest as far as the global fire index. We are the sixth largest. This is your capability. I'm questioning my capability, not to decry or undermine our Jawans. I'm saying this, that we need to develop some system, have some system and method in place which enables our military leaders to anticipate. It is better. There is an old saying I was in Africa for some time. There's an old man. We didn't have enough to eat. He gave us cassava.
Hmm.
Cassava is a plant,
Okay.
carbohydrate. Okay, so along with the cassava, he recited something in Creole language. So I asked him, I had learned Creole language. Baba, what is this? What are you saying? He said a very interesting thing. Prepare and prevent. Repair and repent.
Hmm.
I was in Sierra Leone. We didn't have. He said, did you prepare for your food before coming here? We didn't. Did you have water? A bottle of water is to come from Belgium. At that point in time, it was costing us $1.6. $1 was 9 rupees or 10 rupees at that, not 85 like now. So he gave a small example. He said, prepare and prevent, repair and repent. You can prepare to prevent a surprise attack against us, provided you anticipate. नहीं भी हो रहा
Anticipate.
है, बोलो यार होने जा रहा है.
Ah.
So I feel very sorry. Many of my colleagues through audio, the digital platform is a force multiplying platform. People watch it. So when you speak something in this media, it is very important to prepare our citizens. Each one of us should talk. भाई कोई मरने वाला तो नहीं है, कुछ उधर आग लगने वाला तो नहीं है. Is something disastrous going to happen? Even if it is not happening, you keep raising these questions, speculative questions, and be ready for the worst eventuality.
Hmm.
That is what is the answer to your question. Unfortunately, Aditi, I am not privy to what is going on the ground. From the open sources that I gather in this, I'm thankful to Abhi for having given me this chance to research on the subject. I am a non-technical student. I am not from
Mhm.
IIT Kanpur. I am a retired soldier. I have done my bit because I love Avi. I love Usanas, and I want to contribute for nation building through this platform, through any platform. Here is something which our countrymen must know. I am a non-technical graduate. I am not a domain expert. I'll be very, very candid. But I loved reading. I have not slept 3 nights. I finished off 10 books. So this is
Wow.
what it is. We need to actually go deeper into the issue, find out. Let me also tell you, the core of the issue is not the PhD student and STEM. The ecosystem when you talk about, do you know, for 35 years to 40 years, our bureaucrats, our political leadership, everyone started talking semiconductor तो हिंदुस्तान में नहीं हो सकता है. अरे भाई
Hmm.
क्यों नहीं हो सकता है? हम तो फौज में थे, बात नहीं कर पाते, सीधे होके कोई सवाल यस सर, नो सर, 3 bag full sir. The day I got retired, I went as president to Oman, a multinational company. That was the first day I said, why can't semiconductors be produced? I spoke to one of the bureaucrats. He said, we have missed the bus. कह रहे मैम, अगर if you miss the bus, there is no harm. Better late than never. Thank God
Hmm.
the present leadership had decided semiconductors are being produced. Just 2 points. Semiconductors are a high power intensive product, and it requires one wafer is 30 centimeters silicon strip. Okay, and this 30 centimeter requires 3 months for preparation. It requires 2200 gallons of water. This 2200 gallons of water, 1 gallon is 3.7 liters.
Hmm.
2200 gallons of water includes 1500 gallons of ultra pure water. 1 liter of ultra pure water requires 1.5 normal water. So the requirement of water, process of processing, this is one part. Second part is today China is dominating world over 90% of the critical minerals. There was a
Okay.
time in 2003, 2004, out of 64 critical minerals, USA is to lead good about 60 of them, close to 60. China was just about 3 or 4. Now you talk about 2024. Out of 64, China is leading in 57 critical technologies. I'm
Mhm.
giving you example of antimony, gallium, germanium. These are the critical minerals which are required for disruptive technology like
Hmm.
stealth technology. F-35 cannot be made unless you have sufficient quantum of rare earth elements. China has got more than 90% dominance in this. China dominates 60% in production, 80% in processing. It has got
Okay.
a upstream, it has got a midstream, it has got a downstream segment. All the segments, there is nothing that is possible without China's support. So willy-nilly, China has made European Union, India, Japan, South Korea, USA vulnerable to by virtue of being the leader of critical technology. So these are the couple of issues. India, okay, let me also tell you in the same breath. 34,000 crores of rupees was spent to import 4 critical minerals last year, 2023, cobalt, nickel, lithium, copper. This
Hmm.
year it has gone up to close to 50,000 crores. In next 10
Okay.
years, the demand of the critical minerals from China, where are you buying from? You're
Sure.
buying from China. Next
Sure.
10 years time, by 2030, the requirement will be touching 1 lakh crore rupees worth of critical minerals you'll be buying from where? Collaboration does not enable you to procure readily available processed and extracted mineral which are required for indigenous development and research and development. Therefore, we have to address multiple issues. We have just about
Absolutely. We
begun.
first of all, we need to have an ecosystem that supports. We need to have people who are ready to invest in research. We need to have bureaucracy which is supportive of initiatives, tech initiatives, and it should not just remain an empty talk, where people say, why don't you come up with tech projects? I can recall a minister's statement, Mr. Piyush Goyal, and he was talking about how India lags behind when it comes to innovation and especially tech innovations. So there are a lot of challenges, multiple issues which have pulled us back. And uh, as you mentioned, China, whatever points that you have made, I can say that vision matters. They want to go big, grow big. They are open to work for it. The bureaucracy, which often in India acts more like an impediment than as a supportive system, that needs to be addressed. Abhinavji, I think we can throw open the floor for questions.
Definitely, definitely. We are all very ready and we are all pepped up by General Saab's talk. And first of all, definitely we can start the Q&A session. If you allow me, can I share some comments? And
Sure, sure, sure. Please,
uh,
sir. Please go ahead.
First of all, General Sudhakar, I must say that I'm really, really very thankful to you for making such an exciting, scintillating, and enlightening conversation today. And your insights on this particular issue of AI have been very crucial, even like in boosting my understanding. It's a very technical topic, and the very fact that you come from a non-technical background and giving understanding this topic from a geopolitical perspective, from a military perspective, and explaining it to our audience in such simple, smooth, and easy manner, that's remarkable. And hats off to you for this. Okay. From what I understand, from your presentation, I feel that you made some very, very relevant and very valid points that our primary issues concern with the lack of the sufficient or the fertile ecosystem with this regarding the development of AI. So we are still grappling with some of the very fundamental issues. You mentioned that government of India has sanctioned 10,000 crores for this AI development, which is really very remarkable step, and we all appreciate. We're really grateful to that. That at least government had shown some vision. Undoubtedly, we are late in this, but the recent reports suggest that most of the money, the people, the agencies, the entities who are interested with spending this money, they are too eager to spend this money, and their only purpose and objective to somehow just somehow observe the deadlines of spending this money, that we have spent so much money and we have completed to tick to tick mark the boxes, basically, that we have finished these projects by this deadline. That's it. There is no real vision, and they are simply working on the LLM models developed by some of the Western countries, like ChatGPT, and also by some of our adversary nations like China, like this this DeepSeek. But there is nothing new which is happening. And I must say, I'm sharing not as in the capacity of the CEO of Usanas Foundation, but as an independent thinker and analyst. When it comes to development or a genuine development of science and technology is concerned, unfortunately, our efforts have been very insincere. We started this project of Tejas back in 1983 and 84, and until today, we don't have the delivery. Even when it comes to the assault rifles, you have served in Kashmir. I've been in Kashmir, and we know it very well that even till today, we are giving INSAS rifles to our soldiers, and since I'm an outsider, I can say that those rifles perform very poorly, and as compared to some of the assault rifles which are given by the Western countries to their soldiers. So these attempts are very half-hearted. And when I say this, I don't mean that our people don't lack talent. Our people have immense talent. I mean, we had this excellent ISRO, which was started by Prime Minister Nehru, and this in the space program, we have really made a huge impact, and it's a world-class program happening at a real low cost. Okay, but here there was a catch that the ISRO was, as an institution, was not left in the hands of a typical bureaucracy. ISRO was left in the hands of the professionals. So I think here what we need now, I mean, as you rightly mentioned, you mentioned some statistics about the number of the PhD students. That's staggeringly low, 700. That's miserable. I would like to add something more to it. Even in that 700, the quality and standards are atrociously bad. Most of the since we work in a think tank and we deal with a lot of young students and the student community in smaller cities of India, the universities and colleges, they have become centers of university politics. Most of the appointments are political appointments, and they have become good source for earning bribe money. So there is no real incentive even among the youngsters. As a society, as a community, we hardly make heroes out of our scientists and our academics. As a society, we have a tendency to respect a typical a babu or a bureaucrat, I mean, who wields power. So unless you don't create that ecosystem where you respect entrepreneurs, your scientists, you will not be able to create these gigantic innovations like DeepSeek or maybe ChatGPT. In the US, most of the people who are developing these new innovative technologies and the platforms like Facebook and all, they are dropouts. They are dropouts from Harvard. They are dropouts from Ivy League universities. And in that society, I have seen the people, the young students aspire to become tech giants, aspire to become tech experts, entrepreneurs, scientists, academics. So I guess we need to create that system. Otherwise, in the lack of this fertile and a healthy ecosystem, even our AI efforts will be just very superficial, perfunctory, just like our other governmental schemes, So I think, sorry, I indulged in a bit of a plain talking, but I think we need to do that because it's a think tank, it's an independent think tank, and we must have a critical view of things that are happening around us now. And you also mentioned about Tawang. Interestingly, I like the area. I've been to that border to Bumla and Tawang, and even your residents, the brigade commanders, resident at least 4 or 5 times, and I was able to beat the Chinese soldiers on the Bumla post, and we could actually, feel through some of their gadgets the way they were using their technology to read the nameplates of the soldiers from at least a kilometer or more than that, and we were taken unaware. So these are the developments in which they have really advanced, and I feel that the gap between the two countries is glaring, and I mean, it's a serious issue. Besides that, I mean, it's not just about the military part that I'm worried about, but even in the internal security, AI is something to be factored in. Given the way that we have wide fault lines in India, AI-related tools can be used very effectively to create dissensions and seeds of rift in the society, and and to foment troubles related to communal issues, regional issues. And in the problem is that most of our intelligence network, particularly in the states, it's in a very bad shape. And AI, the biggest impact that AI will have will be in the world of surveillance and intelligence. And I guess the Western world and China, they've already reached a very high stage in that field of using AI in the world of intelligence and surveillance. And unfortunately, we are far behind. I mean, just having few isolated and few islands of innovative experiments will be very will not be very useful. I mean, I guess we need to be gear up, and we need to put in a lot more effort. So these are my comments, and with that, I'll request if there are any other questions, please feel free to ask. I can see Colonel Nalin joining. Can you hear me, Colonel Nalin? Colonel Nalin, can you hear me? I think
Abhinav sir, if you allow me, can we take a comment from General Sudhakar Jee
yes, sure. Definitely. Yeah.
On surveillance vis-a-vis
sure.
vis-a-vis security agencies?
Comments on that, and also the comments on my comments.
Yeah, that was your question. That was your question. I thought that Sudhakar Jee would answer that.
Sure.
Both of you are thinking people. You got cerebral acumen of top order. Yeah, fine. Aditi,
You're
you
so
have your.
kind, sir. You're so kind with words. I must say
No,
that. Thank you
no,
so
no.
much.
You
This is
people
the
are my.
first time I have heard so many nice things in less than 60 minutes. So thank you so much for making me feel so nice about myself. But coming back to the
Aditi,
question, it's a yes,
this
sir.
is
Please go
another
ahead.
biggest handicap in India, world over. Uh, it is not sparring. I am appreciating, but I am calling spade a spade. I am speaking the truth
Yes.
and thereby making the recipient of my message happy.
Mm.
So, making her or him operate from a realm of happiness will generally make the thoughts flow in a consistent and coherent manner. That's my outlook. That's how I do. I generally, it is not a man management technique. Yeah, you go ahead, ask your question for comment. You want.
Janal sir, my question was what Abhinavji was talking about, the internal security, the use of AI for surveillance purposes, especially what has happened in India. You have seen, we have seen communal riots. Some of the AI tools have been used in a very, we have seen the challenge of deep fake. In fact, the Prime Minister has spoken about it. So, when you are living in a society which has many fault lines, and how can AI be used to our advantage for surveillance purpose?
Very good. There are multiple parts in your question, so I'll reflect quickly. In the capital city of China, you call it Beijing, you write it as Peking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
In the year 2020, if I recall, respect my memory, the 30 million cameras which were installed
Hmm.
in a network basis, network system, Xinjiang province has got as many, if not more, cameras.
Hmm.
Every person, the biometrics are taken in such a manner and they are constantly being watched. So there is always a fear, not fear, it is established that Chinese system is not the best system to follow. But Chinese system, we have to understand, is based on one single paradigm. That single paradigm is the ideological imperative has to be ensured. There cannot be compromise to communism. When you talk about ideological imperatives, there are sub items under this which support or contribute the staying power of the ideological imperative. What is ideological imperative in China today? There is only one ideology. That is the president of China, Xi. His thought process has to be adapted and adopted by
Hmm.
one and all in China across the board without any exception. He is the ruler at three different levels, three verticals: president, chairman, CMC, and
CCP.
he's the secretary of CPC. Okay. So now, having said that, he wants to know who's the guy who's about to create any civilian unrest.
Hmm.
To large an extent, AI has been successful to prevent social unrest to large an extent. But it doesn't mean everything is tickety-boo in China. No, there are very serious issues. But time will not permit to go into that. But the basic issue that I'm saying is, can you replicate the system that China is following in China with that of India? India has got a population of 1.45,
Billion.
1.45 billion, or more than that, little more than that. Where all are you going to install the camera? How are you going to install? More than anything else, the social behavior of our people is so chaotic. There is no discipline in India. Unless there is discipline, a system which is being followed. These are my views. I may be wrong. This is my view after having read so many books. You made me to slog and slog past couple of days. Discipline is paramount. Without discipline, you cannot be achieving anything. Number two thing that you require is technology is important. Are we prepared to accept that a mobile which is in my hand, we say we are the second largest exporter of mobile. In 2014, we used to be the largest importer anywhere in the world. We are the second largest exporter. Now, when you assemble a mobile, you have many multiple electronic components. I was trying to look for a percentage. That percentage came across today, I came across close to almost 76 to 82% of electronic products which are used in a mobile are imported from multiple sources. The major share, portion is from China. I don't have the exact percentage, but good numbers. We are yet to create an ecosystem. So before we start a system of keeping our people under surveillance, we need to have a decision by a public body, let's say parliament, to decide what is it that you want to achieve out of AI. Do you want to replace the manual labor with a machine by 2050 or 47? Or you want to do A, B, C, D, like four things I rattled out: agriculture, healthcare, weather, and disaster management. What do you want to achieve? So for a country like India, we have a population bulge, youth bulge. It is going to, the TFR is unlikely to come down. In China, it is 1.1, by the way. 1.1 TFR, less than 2.1.
Mm.
That is why they are worried. So for China, it may be easy because they created an ecosystem where back in starting from 2000 onwards, it was in place in many of the provinces by 2006 to 2010. By the time 2017 came, I think it was one of the 5 year plan, 16th 5 year plan or some 5 year plan. That is
Mm.
for the 11th 5 year plan, sorry. That is for the first time they took up AI, artificial intelligence, as a strategic component of the societal development.
Mm.
Until you take AI as a strategical component of our nation building, we cannot go anywhere to put it in a progressive path or a roadmap which will take us to the place where we desire.
General
Now
sir, just
coming,
tell me something. Now you're talking about the strategic part, right? I'm digressing a bit, but in a country where we still don't have a policy, national security policy, and we had a discussion at length about it in MPAGD. Oh, do we really have such decisions and such decision-taking bodies?
anyway, you are taking the words from my mouth. So I, as one, I respect our honorable Minister of External Affairs, but I was aghast to hear what is said about the same thing. It is something like, can a country be ever a country without a constitution or document? No. Every country has to have a constitution except for Britain, isn't it? Pakistan also has got a constitution. So Indian Armed Forces, it is the fourth largest, the armed forces in the world. It is the sixth largest as far as the global firepower index is concerned. But does it have some kind of a direction, which way to go? Does it have a strategic document? It doesn't have. So I was surprised to hear from very eminent people in the hierarchy that so what, it doesn't have. We are going, we are doing. I know what we have. I am the one who was handling it. But you are right. We need to have a national security strategy in place in black and white as early as possible. If out of 192 countries, there are 142 countries which have got a national security strategy, and India is claiming itself to be a global power or becoming a global power with a high per capita income of almost $20,000 per individual by 2047, then I think it's about time that we start thinking about a security strategy. Where do you want to go? Once your long term plan or aim is identified, your means and methods will fall in place. That is where your question gets answered, your societal challenges, the fault lines that you have. Which one are you going to guard against? You have nine different religions. Out of nine, there are four global international religions. You have how many? Five primary castes. You have 5,000 sub primary castes. You got 25,000 sub castes as per the occupation. You have languages, 22 languages, out of which two are national language. Unofficially, I have come across from an authentic book which said that we have got more than 1,800 languages. More than. Political parties, 2,400. Is there any country in the world which is as diverse as India? No. So under this kind of diversity, How can you ever think of putting AI in a place which will carry out checks and balances, or at least give you preempted information कि ये होने वाला है सर, तैयार हो जाओ. The biggest challenge in our country today is that कोई constitution pocket से निकालता है, वो पढ़ा कभी नहीं है. Okay, so that is the psychological warfare going on. Now, at least for God's sake, let's put a history behind. History needs to be corrected. Let the people be dedicated to correct it. Let's collectively, I feel, we as a nation, if you want to be progressive and forward looking, think about things like artificial intelligence. This is the mainstay. Why am I saying mainstay, Aditi? To answer your question, please allow me 30 seconds. Let me just give you a figure. Somebody from Oxford University was talking to me, and he asked, how do you feel that India will be able to capitalize on so and so, so and so, so and so issues? So my quick answer to him is that the potential market value of AI in global economy is expected to cross 15.7 trillion by 2030. Okay. Now, setting the stage for an explosive increase in productivity and economic development, the following 5 disruptive technologies could reach a total value of 220 trillion by 2030, up from current 19 trillion at the rate of 42% growth per annum. What are these 5 components or products? One is artificial intelligence, second is energy storage, third is robotics, the fourth is multiomics, dealing with life, health, biotechnology, medicine, and the fifth one is public blockchain. Now, when you talk about the robotics and AI, I was delightfully surprised yesterday when I was reading one of the books. India is considered as a leader in AI and robotics. I don't know. I'm yet to see anywhere in the country where artificial intelligence and robotics are being put to optimum use or some use. I'm yet to witness in my own eyes. Therefore, I had doubts, but I have recorded. I'm sharing with the viewers. I hope I have, to an extent, I have been able to answer your question.
Yes,
Abhi,
to
you
an
want me to
extent,
comment?
yes.
There is nothing to comment unless you have spoken your heart out. I admire you having chosen the subject. The only issue that we need to understand, tell our viewers, they must understand there is a distinction between China and USA as far as the artificial intelligence is concerned. What is the distinction? The distinction as far as China and USA is concerned, USA believes in investing money and making innovations. China is the only country which says innovation हो या ना हो, जो आपके पास है जुगाड़ के जरिए से करो, लेकिन उनको adapt करो, उनको assimilate करो, put them into use. This is the distinction. That is why China is validating. It is putting its product, whatever it may be, tuta futa jo bhi hai, putting it into effective use, taking the input. They have created a huge network of data center. They're collecting and collating data. They're using it in economic hub. They're using it in the health centers, in academia. They have got the best of professors. They're paying heavy amount of money. They're investing money. Fund investment. Aditi, you made a very good mention about private and public investment. Does our public know that for the growth of something strategic like artificial intelligence, your public investment is not going to stand in good state at all? Wherever in the world you carry out a study, you will find private investment has always been acting as a force multiplier. Today, the Western world or the leading economies, the ratio of public to private investment is 70 to 80%. That is, the private companies are investing 70 to 80% in Western or the leading economies. Vis-a-vis India. India, how much? Earlier it used to be 18%, but thanks to 2014 till now, the private investment has gone up to 35%.
Still, it is very difficult to get the money.
35,
Still very
37%, around 37%. So therefore, we have a long way to go. As long as our orientation is right and appropriate, we are in the right direction. We may take a couple of days or months or years more than others. It is better to be slow but sure-footed. It is no point, aping the West or aping the Chinese. We need to tailor make every product to suit our requirement, like the way you have explained, like the way Avi has commented. Our requirements as the Indian subcontinent is totally different. We need to tailor make artificial intelligence to suit our requirement. Our requirement is agriculture, our requirement is healthcare, weather, disaster management. But Government of India would do well to factor in manufacturing. Manufacturing also should become the center of gravity for deployment of artificial intelligence, but that is the place which is going to give you employment. Today, you have unemployment to the extent of 9.2%, which is very huge. You have a huge youth bulge. If you do not employ them, they will be radicals. Look at the way Bangladesh is spreading, Islamism and radicalism. We need to take preventive actions in a proactive manner so as to prevent occurrence of any mishap or social unrest anywhere in the country. Maharashtra is the most radicalized state in the country. ISIS and ISI, they have got into hand in gloves, and there are regional caliphates which have started in West Bengal, in Maharashtra, and in Jammu and Kashmir. There are many more which are developing in the country we should be very careful of. Artificial intelligence will be effectively used if we keep these factors, apply ourselves, see as to how the thing can be applied to
Sure,
give
sir.
us, preventive information so that some steps can be done to prevent any kind of mishap against the nation.
Some very
That's it.
interesting points, sir. Some really interesting points, and there's so much to take from you. The kind of hard work that you have put in last 3 days, it's quite visible here, quite evident here. So, Abhinavji, should we conclude here, or do you
Yes,
have some
yes.
questions, sir?
No, we can conclude here. We can.
So thank you so much thanks a lot, sir, General Sudhakar Jee, for giving your insights for such a meaningful discussion, and we really appreciate the number of hours and the amount of hard work that you have put in for this particular session. I really appreciate this, and I'm taking a lot from this session. I'm sure who's going to watch it, they would learn a lot from you. Thank you, Abhinavji, to Usanas Foundation to pick up such a relevant topic to talk about, this topic at such a great length. And I'm sure there is so much that has been done, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. And that needs to be done at the ground level, at the government level, bureaucracy level, where they need to act and to address the concerns that have been there when it comes to AI in different spheres of life in India. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind. Thank you, Aditi.
Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Take care.